Hi, everyone. It's always a delight to jump into the Traversing the Stars podcast space. Usually I'm hanging out over in Words, Images, and Worlds, but always nice to step over here. And on this episode, I am delighted to be talking with storyteller, actor Teddy Coluca. Mr. Coluca, thank you for joining.
Thank you. Storyteller. That's the first time I've been called that, but I have told many stories in my day, so okay, I'll take it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm a big literacy person, so that tends to be sort of the way that I think through the questions and ideas. You are enacting a story for us with multiple players.
Very good. That's okay. You're in charge.
Well, we try, we try. So curious, you're featured on a show called Only Murders in the Building. I've been a fan since the first season, and you play a character named Lester who has a pretty central role in this new season, I may say. So I'm curious what it's been like to sort of grow and step into this character over the years.
It's great the way it's grown. I mean, when I first got this job, I really thought I was going to be, opening a door and saying, "Have a nice day," or "How was your day?" And that was going to be it. Um, but slowly, John Hoffman, sort of developed a character and told me as we're going along, there's going to be, more for Lester down the road. And I didn't know it was going to go where it went, but
Hmm.
I'm very pleased with it. And even this year, I have to say, I'm really featured because I'm at top of the show, which more than one person has contacted me and say, "Oh no, you're at the top of the show," like with people like Renee Zellweger and Christoph Waltz. I mean,
Hmm.
I have to pinch myself sometimes.
Good company, very good company, yeah. And you've certainly been a mainstay on this show and someone who's been part of the story from the beginning. Are you privy to the details of the stories as they come to be, or are you following along with the audience?
I follow along with the audience. We don't get any other script other than the ones we're in, and um, even a couple of things like something happened this year where I can't give it away right now, but like I said to John Hoffman, the showrunner, "Do I do that?" He says, "How do you know?" I said, "Well, I think I read it somewhere that maybe was supposed to be redacted." I said, "Did I do that?" And then he kind of said, "Well, you'll see, but I can't tell you what it is."
Nice, nice. So the mystery stays strong even for the cast.
Right, it does. It absolutely does. Like I didn't know I was going to be, and I guess we can say this, the victim at the end of
Hmm.
season
Hmm.
4 until I got the script and happened to be sitting watching a high school baseball game, and the script came on my phone, and I started just looking at it. I was sitting by myself, and I'm going through my phone, and of course, when you get the script, the first thing you look for is your name. And then you don't read anything. I just look for Lester. I look for Lester. Oh, good, I'm there. That's good. Oh, look at this. I'm here too. That's good. Like that. And then when I got to the last page, it was what? Oh my God! And then I turned around. I said, couldn't tell anybody. I quick called my wife and said, "I'm the victim. And kept it a secret to everybody but my wife and my agent and anybody who worked on the show, obviously. But nobody in my circle knew that I was going to end up where I ended up.
It's a rare thing to congratulate someone for being a victim, but that's a mark of honor on this show.
Well, it's true. I mean, if you have to die on a show, this is the show to die on. I mean, no doubt
Hmm.
about it.
Hmm.
Because this season 5 for me probably equals my other 4 seasons combined. So it's been a very good season for me, and yeah, I'm just thrilled. I mean, nobody wants to get killed on a show, but what are you going to do? And I'm in with some pretty famous people, like Jane Lynch and Paul Rudd, and like
Hmm.
other people. I'm going to be the guy that people can't remember in the trivia question when the time comes. So, and I'm happy with that.
Well, I do believe that your character will be remembered very well. And of course, with the way that this show goes, I'm hoping even as the victim, you get to recur in some way. There can always be flashbacks. Who knows what these people can dream up? But I'm just putting that out there. That's really not a
Well,
question. That's just a hope.
at the wrap party, my wife was with me, and she asked John Hoffman if I had a twin, and he said, "You never know." And
Mhm.
but I can tell you that oh, I can't tell you so much too much, but we'll see. We'll see
Yes, that's
where Lester might possibly show up down the road. And when you watch the season, you'll say, "Oh, I think that's what he meant here." So
yeah.
a little teaser there.
All shall be revealed. All shall be revealed. Well, you mentioned Christoph Waltz, Renee Zellweger, and the cast on this show has just grown year to year. Meryl Streep is on the show, and Paul Rudd, and of course you have the title three. You have Steve Martin and Martin Short, the Martin Martin duo, as well as Selena Gomez. What's it like to work with that trio in particular?
I'm telling you, from day one, they treated me like an equal, and I was thrilled to be there. It's just sort of, I don't know how to explain it, but I'll tell you one thing that happened to me. We have a little theater company in here out here in Jersey where I live, and about in 2019, I believe it was, I went to I'm sort of third in command. So, and I went to the two people who were more in command than I am, and I said, there's this Steve Martin play called The Underpants. I said, it's pretty funny. I said, maybe we should do it. So we read it, and we were casting people in it, and at first I didn't really think of myself to be in the play, but as we're casting people, I sort of remember there's this character who comes in. He comes in like in page 26, and then he doesn't come back again until like page 80 or 90. And then he's in for like the last 15 pages. And he's a scientist. He's this nutty scientist. And I said to the head of the company, sat next to him, and I said, I'm going to play that part as we were auditioning people. I'm going to play that part. And I did it, and I had a lot of fun with it. And by just coincidence, 2 years later, I get a call to come and read for Steve Martin's new show. But I first read to play the role of Teddy Demas, the Nathan Lane role, and
Mhm.
which Nathan Lane obviously got the role, which is fine by me. And then they called me and said, "We'd like you to read for the doorman." And and I did. And luckily, how I got in the door really was I had done an episode of Mrs. Maisel a couple of years ago, and the director that I worked with, Jamie Babbitt, on that was directing the pilot of Murders in the Building. So she sort of got me one foot in the door. And then when I
Mhm.
did my audition, I said to John Hoffman, I said, I don't know if this means anything, but a couple of years ago, I did Steve's play called The Underpants, and John Hoffman said, "Oh, Steve loved hearing that." P.S.
Mhm.
That I think solidified the whole thing, and I even told Steve, one day, I did The Underpants. He goes, "Were you in it?" I said, "Yeah, I was in it." I quoted some line from the nutty scientist, and he sort of just smiled and he walked away. He's a man of very few words, but
Yeah.
yeah, but it's been a great job. I mean, I'll put it this way: there were no jerks on the set, not one,
That is good. That is good.
not one. I mean, it's. I mean, I don't want to say I've worked with any jerks because I can't really point out any people. I mean, I did the Blacklist for 10 years, and James Spader was the best person in the world to me, and
Mhm. Mhm.
and that was another great job. It was a little different because I played another character who worked with an oxygen tank all 10 seasons, and the idea of there was a lot busier because pulling the oxygen tank and whatever other nonsense they had me doing because this character was out of his mind. Um, it was also a great job with great people, but Murders, I have to say, has been the best job I've ever had. And I'll be sorry next season not to be there as much, but next season is going to be different. And I'm just going to tell you that much. Next season is going to be different. And I know that for a fact, but I can't tell you again why it's going to be different, but it's going to be different.
Nice, nice. Well, as I mentioned, I've been a fan since the beginning of the show, and I love the genre stacking. Talking about Steve Martin's writing, the wit that's there, the humor, the just the level of acumen and intelligence that is typically part of the projects that he does is really interesting. And then, of course, he can do a King Tut sort of performance. So lots of genres, lots of play there. Uh, the idea of a mystery that is also a comedy. Curious about how that comes together on the set. That has to be a very fun set to be on.
It is a fun set to be on. The fact that you don't realize you're working on a mystery much until everything is put together. Because
Mhm.
you see a little more, especially with my character. I was involved a little bit season two with saying who was the murderer in season two. Um, but just again, I have to say, working with Steve, and I just want to bring this up because you hit something in my head that made me think of this. I don't know. Have you seen the trailer this year at all? I mean, I have to ask you
Oh
because
yes, oh yes.
okay,
Uh-huh.
so you see where Lester is in the trailer, right? He's
Mhm.
he's he's laying prone. You get it, right? And when they first said they wanted to do that, I was like, I don't know. I just and my wife wasn't thrilled with it. I said, can't we just figure out another way to do this? I mean, I had a little bit of who wants to get in a casket. I can say it because it's on tomorrow night, so the world will know tomorrow night that if they haven't seen the trailer that Lester is in a casket tomorrow night when the show opens. And I said, it's not something I feel good about. I had tell you another story in a minute, but um, John Hoffman said to me, he said, really, really, he said, Steve has a bit that he wants to do, and it can only work this way. And I'll have to tell you, I think it might be the funniest bit I've ever been in my career, and I'm dead. So that's part of it. And I did something years ago. I'll tell you real quick. I did a movie with Bruce Willis, and in the movie, Bruce Willis was supposed to get in a casket. And here we are, we're getting ready to shoot the scene. It's in a funeral home, and he was shot in this movie, and, and there's 100 background people there, and he won't get in the casket. He decides I don't want to do it. Um, he ended up doing it, but he held up production for at least 3 hours before he actually said he would get in and do it. So and one other thing, Kevin Costner's first role in the movie was in The Big Chill, and he was in a casket. So
Mhm. Mhm.
a lot of those things, I said I'm an actor, I got to do it. You know what I mean? But go ahead, go on. I mean, just I thought of that. But the whole casket bit is funny. Is very funny, and doing it, I literally, as Steve is doing what he's doing, I'm trying to hold to not to laugh. I can't be a dead guy, and can't hear me laughing. But it was hard. I was gritting my teeth, during the scene because what he was doing was very funny.
I'm sure. I'm sure. It sounds like a wonderful set to be on. And like a good joke, a good mystery, you have to have those bits set up just right so that the punchline and the payoff is there by the end.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And Diane Weeks playing my wife. What's better than that? I mean, if you think about it. I mean, when I heard Diane Weeks was playing my wife, I was like, oh my gosh, like,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a great. Just when Meryl Streep comes up to me at the rap party, which I didn't have any scenes with her a couple of years ago, and I introduced myself. She said, "I am Teddy. I play Lester the doorman." She goes, "I know you." Meryl Streep says, "I know you."
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, and whatever. Yeah, I did a movie years ago with Meryl Streep where I was a cabbie and she was in the back of the cab. But the way something happened where Wes Craven was the director of this movie, and he couldn't be there the day I shot, and they didn't ask me to come back the day she shot. So they shot us separately. But if you watch the movie, it looks like we're in the cab together. And I got to tell her that when I met her. I said, we did a movie 25 years ago together where, and I told her what the movie was. The Music of the Heart was the name of the movie. And I told her what the movie
Mhm.
was. And she said, oh, that was a horrible movie. She said to me, and I said, well, I'm not going to agree with you. I said, but, it was nice that 25 years later I can meet you and say to you, we did a movie together, but we didn't do a movie together. So it's a little,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It all comes around full circle, right?
it really does. But don't
Yeah.
burn any bridges.
That's right. That's right. Any big surprises so far behind the scenes? Anything that surprised you about being behind the scenes, as well as anything in the seasons leading up to now that I know we can't talk about the current one in detail, but anything that's really surprised you about how the story has unfolded so far?
Um, yeah, yeah, well, what surprises me and what will surprise the audience that what they think is will be obvious will not be obvious. I mean, if that
Hmm.
makes sense. I mean, we're dealing with mobsters and things like that. So don't yeah, the obvious probably isn't going to be what you think, what you think. I can tell you another thing that behind the scenes that Steve Martin is unbelievable with playing cards. Like
Oh, nice.
we have if you know, what happens is this season we find out that there's a casino in the bottom of the building that's been running for over 30 years runs just like on the weekend. So they at one point I have to deal. I have to work. Lester is sort of involved with the casino, um, but he's not happy about it. He's been involved for a lot of years. He sort of just got forced into it when he was a young guy, and because we also see young Lester this season, we see a young actor named Emery Cohen playing young Lester, and we see how Lester sort of had no choice but to get involved with this stuff. And what I was getting at, so it comes to a point where I have to deal one night because he needs me to whoever needs me to deal. So Bobby Cannavale plays the the mom guy that I'm pretty much involved with. So they need me to deal, and so they wanted me to be fancy, See what really, I really. And they had this guy who was really good, who studied with Ricky Jay. I don't know if you know who Ricky Jay is, but
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
this guy was Ricky Jay's protege, and he told me a lot about Ricky Jay. And if you, a lot of actors don't know who Ricky Jay is, but he was an amazing man. But so this guy was trying to teach me how to do, and it really wasn't working. So what they did was they they made his hands made his hands to look like my hands. So when you see me doing whatever with cards, it's not really me doing it. But what I want to say is when you see Steve doing what he's doing with the cards, it is Steve doing it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
And wait till you see. He's unbelievable. He really is unbelievable. So just know that's really Steve doing it, not
Man,
me.
a banjo, a comedian, actor, writer. If he had been born a woman, he would be unstoppable. Am I
He's
not right about
unbelievable.
that?
Art collector. I mean, he's got a collection of art that is, from the way Marty puts it. He says, you got to have a Picasso over here, you have a Monet over here, like, and he sort of. When I remember he was telling a story one day about Steve and just about collector that he is, and I don't know anything about art, um, but again, that's another thing to put on his resume. Really is.
Yeah, yeah. There's a Steve Martin, Ricky Jay connection, I believe, from The Spanish Prisoner, the David Mamet film as well.
There you go. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you said it. I'm not surprised. I actually years ago we used to have lunch in a little place in in Manhattan on West 44th. I don't know where you are. Where are you located? I'm curious.
Oh, I'm in Appalachia. That's where I'm zooming in
You're in
from.
Appalachia, so you're yeah. So
Yeah.
so anyway, there used to be this little in the bottom of the Edison Hotel on West 45th Street. It was just they used to call it the Polish Tea Room, but it was where bunch of actors would get together for lunch. You could go there and you could find somebody that you knew there and sit down and have lunch, with them. And one day I was sitting with a couple of friends, and who walks in but Ed O'Neill and J.J. Johnson, and the two of them, they came and they sat with us, and they were shooting scenes from the Spanish Prisoner. Um,
Oh,
that's why they were in town, and that's the connection there. Where yeah, they were shooting the Spanish Prisoner that day, and I'm not surprised about the connection between Steve and I didn't even realize that Steve was in the Spanish Prisoner. To be honest with you, um,
yeah, yeah.
so there you go. So that's all makes sense too. And he was a magician when he first started out.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
He
Yeah,
worked in Disneyland.
yeah. Very nice, very cool. Well, I love how the paths all lead together, and I am excited to see this season. Hope to see you much more this season, and then, as I mentioned, coming back whenever possible. The series starts again back. The season starts back tomorrow, as of this recording time. So
Yes,
we're
it
right
is.
on the eve of it.
We're right on the eve of it. I thought it was very appropriate.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the conversation. Did we miss anything? Anything upcoming or any words that you'd like to say about the show before we conclude?
No, no, I had a bit ready here about all the merch that we get, like hats and
Oh, nice.
hats and games and wait, speakers
Wow.
and
The swag bag.
shirts. And yeah, I had a bit ready, but forget the bit. We just did it. So it's
I
all
love
good.
it. I love it. Yeah, you are merchandising as well. The Only Murders franchise has begun. Look for Happy Meal toys. Oh my goodness, all the things.
Whatever, it's all good. They send it, and I love it. And my grandkids have shirts, and my grandson has a sweatshirt that says "crew" on it. People want to, where did you get that? Where did you get that? So it's pretty cool. It's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Admit.
Well, speaking of pretty cool, you have amazing friends. You've been on a wonderful show, wonderful career. I'm sure much more to come. And your television wife is Diane Weiss. So, I mean, what could be cooler?
Now I'm going in with Angela, my real wife. So it's all
That's
good.
right. That's right. That's a good answer.
It
Thank
is.
you
It
so
is.
much.